One. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cancer Conquering Community. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to our group today. And we are having our first panel discussion with myself, Ligia Chacón Hernández, and Geoeges Cordoba. And we are discussing the subject of, are you willing to change in order to save your life? So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off because this is something that I had to face in my cancer journey. And this was something that this is something that's near and dear to my heart because it changed my willingness to change, literally has changed my life, and it has propelled me to where I am today. And it has allowed me to live, basically. And and I'd like to thank my close friend. His name is Lito, and he's a nutritionist. And so I think we all, as cancer patients, come to a point in time where we're faced with major life decisions, and I was as well. And so what happened was back in early 2021. I got my diagnosis from my oncologist, and she said, your cancer is so bad, you have prostate, bone, and lung cancer, stage 4. And, you know, I don't think you're going to be around very long. She didn't say it in those terms, but that's what she inferred. She said, I suggest you get your affairs in order. And she said, I will make your remaining days as comfortable as possible. So the first thing I did in my mind was, as I'm listening to, I took it in, and here's what I was happy about. I was happy after months of testing to finally know what I was dealing with, because up until then, okay, I know something is definitely wrong, but I don't know what it is. And so to finally hear what I had, it allowed me to it gave me a peace of mind. And so when she told me those words, I was immediately in my mind was like, okay, I respect you and what you're saying, but you're not God. And I'm gonna live. In spite of what you say, I'm gonna find a way because I knew that the answers were out there in the very screen that we're looking at right now. I knew the answers were out there. And so I went through a number of crossroads. But getting back to my friend Lito, he is a nutritionist and a former owner of a nutrition company. And in fact, it had to do with reishi mushroom was his featured product. And what he told me was this. He said, I'm going to give you some advice and I'm going to give you a diet moving forward. He said, you know, it's up to you whether you decide to do it or not. But if you choose not to do it, I'm not sure if you're going to be around in a year.
Mm.
But he said, if you choose to do it, I think you're going to be okay. Guess what? I chose to do it and I'm still here. And so he was absolutely spot on correct. I mean, it was a tough thing. And so what happened was, I wanted to dwell on it because, that's a lot of things. And one of the things he suggested, I was a vegan for 10 years up until that point. And so, we're all told, you all hear, oh, being a vegan is the greatest diet that you could have. But that depends on the individual.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is different and everybody needs to make their own decisions. So what he told me was at that point I was 123 pounds and weak. I was very, very weak. So what he told me was you have got to totally radically change your diet because what we need to do is we need to reverse your weight loss. And you are not going to be able to reverse your weight loss staying on your vegan diet. And so,
Right.
I think all of us, we're so happy with our diets because that's what we've come to put together. And that's what's been comfortable for us. And so I had been a vegan for 10 years, but I was faced with a major, major decision. And concurrently, right at that time, I had to go into the hospital and I was there for a week. And that gave me a really a lot of alone time to really think about things. And at that time, I decided to change my diet completely. And he was strong with me, which I appreciated. And and so I thought, what alternatives do I really have? I mean, here's a guy who's helped, hundreds of people or maybe thousands of people with diet. And so I told myself, I'm going to change my diet right then and there. And so I changed it right in the hospital, and it turned out to be the right decision. And I added, I didn't do it in the hospital because they don't have it, but what I did was I added organic beef, organic chicken, organic turkey, uh, wild salmon, and he said you need that animal protein in order to turn things around and get you the strength back and the weight back that you need. So looking back, I was in a fog. I was just kind of like the blind being led somewhere. I didn't know where. But I'm so glad that I listened to him, and I'm so glad that he was strong with me because I needed it, because I was confused. I didn't know what to do. But I decided to go with his recommendations, and one of the things that he said, and Tracy, uh, this might be good advice for you. He said one of the most important things that I recommend to you is taking reishi mushroom. And he said, I would take it 3 times a day, organic reishi mushroom. And he said that was his featured product of his company, and then the government shut him down because of what he was doing. But that has
Mm-hmm.
turned out to be excellent, excellent advice. In fact, not only for prostate cancer, but also phenomenal for lung cancer. And he said for lung cancer, which I had, it's about the only thing that he knew that would help lung cancer. And I was in the hospital and I saw a live scan of my lungs. And I saw two white lungs on the scan. And then there were like these egg-shaped black blobs of cancer floating around in my lungs. And I knew, oh my goodness, that is serious. And so when you're faced with those things, you know, you have to make decisions and you've got to be willing to change things around. And so I did do 6 rounds of chemo, and I'm glad I did. I didn't want to do them originally, but the 6 rounds of chemo helped me get ahead of the rapid growth of my cancer. I mean, I had really bad cancer all over my body, and it helped me get a handle on it, get ahead of it. and it allowed the natural things that I was going to do to work. And so for me, I had to change. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. And if I just listened, my oncologist told me, she said, your cancer is so bad that I can't cure you. So I knew that, you know, she was going to be only able to help me up to a certain point. I knew it was going to be up to me. And so I was willing to take that on. And so I started making these changes. And that's when I started my YouTube channel, To Be Your Own Hero. And originally, what I did with my YouTube channel was I just talked about my cancer journey, talked about various subjects, and I looked back on my earliest videos, and it's frightening. I was like a skeleton. It was like, I mean, I look back at it now and I thought, when you're going through it, you're looking out. But people that are looking at you, see you. And I had so many people tell me later, they said, I didn't know what to say to you because you look so bad, but I can't tell you that you look that bad. And it was unbelievable. It's unbelievable looking back now, but I thank God that He gave me the strength to make the decisions to change things in my life that helped me save my life. And plus, I had another thing is I had the burning desire in my head. Number one, I am going to live. I mean, I don't care what my oncologist says. I don't care what other people are saying. That was my focus. I'm going to live and I'm going to find the ways necessary to do that. And so that's kind of the changes that I made in a nutshell. You could take a look at my YouTube channel to see some of the things that I've done. If you're interested in my diet, I have a diet video, I have a supplements video, and you could I mean, there's so many videos now, it's hard to find. I know right where they are. So if you're interested, message me and I'll be happy to get them to you. But what I want to do is I'm going to hand it over to Ligia. And Ligia, please chime in and share with us your thoughts on, are you willing to change in order to save your life? Go ahead, Ligia.
You're in mute, Ligia.
Unmute yourself, Ligia.
Yeah, sorry. I'm
There you
sorry.
go.
Okay, so this is a good question, not only when we are talking about this, but we are talking in general about life, right? Life presents us so many things and challenges through the years. And I was thinking about this question, and every day there's a change in our life. But one thing that is required, and that is what I think, is to be humble. If we are humble enough to accept or to acknowledge that the path or the way or the habits that we are following are not the better for us, so we need to change. We need to change something, right? There is something that we need to change to embrace our own growth or to improve our health. So it is about letting go our habits, taking steps that sometimes are not so comfortable for us, but we need to take them. Something I live with my mom. Honestly, my mom, fortunately, she was always very humble, and she was like following everything that the doctor said and everything she was searching about her cancer. So I made like a list of things, like 5 steps that maybe we can follow. And first of all, I think that we need to acknowledge, first of all, that we need to change, that we need to change something. There's a need to change something. Maybe that comfort comfort zone that we have is not going good for our health. So we need to accept that and see what is not working for us and change it. So, of course, we need the courage and the self-awareness to accept that there is something that is wrong. That is what I'm talking about humility. It is my favorite virtue, and I really love when I see someone humble, because if you are humble, you can change so many things in a positive way in your life. And so, first of all, we need to acknowledge that there's a need for change, right? Which is sometimes it's not so comfortable for us. Then the second thing we need to see is we need to seek for guidance. So some people think if I look for help is because I am weak, and no, being humble enough to accept that we need help is a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness. So once we need we know that we need help, and we find people that can help us, that can support us, I think we don't need to walk alone through this path, right? We it is so beautiful when we are going through a difficult situation or a challenge, and there are people around us that we know that they are supporting us authentically and they are helping us. So the second thing is to accept or to look for help or guidance. Later, sometimes we are so demanding with ourselves. So the third thing that maybe we should do is to take a step by step, to live day by day, not thinking too much about what is going to happen or what happened before, but living present, fully present in this time, and knowing that living with that hope that every step we take is for our own well-being, right? So we need to be humble again, humble enough to know that every day we're gonna have a step forward to improve. And of course, there's a need for consistency. We need to be consistent, perseverant, and very disciplined about these changes. Sometimes it is not easy, but we need to do it, right? Number four, I think that we need to practice self-compassion, because sometimes we forget that we don't embrace ourselves. I always think every day we need to remember from the beginning of the day that we need to embrace ourselves, give some grace to ourselves, and see that yes, we need a change in our journey. That sometimes there are setbacks. Maybe what we were doing yesterday was not enough, but today we're gonna start again. We are gonna try it again. So forgive ourselves that maybe yesterday we didn't do it as well as we would like to do it, but of course we can do it, right? So we need to believe in ourselves. And finally, the five step I think is stay committed, right? If we stay committed to our goal, okay, I need to change. Okay, I need to eat this, or maybe I need to do some exercise, or maybe I need to take care of about my mental health so that I can feel better, to change my diet also. So stay committed to our plans. If we are planning, or if we have a diet plan for stop eating some things that are not good, and later we are going to start eating something different or doing something different in our daily routine. So try to stay committed. No matter if we fail today, but tomorrow we are going to do it. And finally, I think this is all about humility, and this is also about self-love, right? Because we are doing this because we love ourselves, right? We want to. I mean, life is so beautiful that I always think every one of us has a mission in life. So we need to remember, okay, we are doing this because we love ourselves, and there are people around us that also need us. It is something that I remember my mom, and I told Mark, my mom from the very beginning, she was not thinking even about herself. So she was thinking about all the family, all her grandchildren, about me, about my dad. So she was thinking what I'm going to do if something happened to me. So she was thinking about all people around her. So I mean, she did her best so that everyone can be like peaceful and relaxed, not very sad or maybe depressed about her illness. But she also learned more about self-love because I remember she was taking more about herself, about her diet, about her daily routines. So I think this is a journey about resilience, about humility, about self-love. So these two things I think are very important. I also found finally a quote that I really like, so I would like to read it for you. It is from Marianne. Is Rademacher. She says, "Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day, saying, 'I will try it again tomorrow.'" So we need to remember this. Change is not so easy, but we can do it. We can do it. Not only when we are talking about this, but in general about our lives, right? I think this is but honestly, Mark, what I thought mainly for me is the most important point here is humility. Humility. Yeah, to accept that we need to change something.
Thank you, Ligia. I want to share before I go to George's. Did you have anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you,
Thank you so
Ligia.
much.
You just reminded me of something that I think is very, very important here. You know, I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people, maybe thousands. I don't even know. Just talk to people about cancer all the time. And when I meet a new person, a lot of times what I ask them is this question: how serious are you about saving your life? And the interesting thing that I found is 100% of the people say, "Oh, I'm serious.
Mhm.
I'm serious." And I expect that answer. But what I look to see is the follow-up after that answer. Okay, and that's what tells me the real answer. Okay. How many people do you think, what would you say the percentage? And I'm gonna, after this, I'm gonna pass it on to George and see what he thinks about this. How many people do you think are actually serious about saving their life? And what I've found is the percentage is so small.
Mhm.
I would say the percentage is, and I'm going to be generous here,
Mhm.
I'd say maybe 3%, but it's probably more like 2 or 1%. Okay. And the reason I say that is this. After I ask the question, and then I send them my information. I send them, videos about my diet, books, and everything like that. And I get questions like, "Hey, can I have a cheat day? Do I have to do this every day?" And all the excuses start coming out. And then, you know, and then all of a sudden people don't follow through. But the ones that are serious have done very, very well. Very well. In fact, we had a guy on here speaking a few, I don't know, maybe a month and a half ago. His name is Mike Starks. He sent me the greatest text message that I ever received, ever. And, I'm just going to quote off the top of my head, but he basically said, "Thank you for Mark, for your servant's heart. You literally saved my life." And he came on, and it was just a beautiful session. He was near tears sharing his story. And he's kind of in the neighboring town of Dallas. He lives, a couple hours away from me. And that's what he told me. And he was serious about change. In fact, what he did, I sent him all the stuff. That night, he went out and he started gathering things and he said, I'm going to start this right away. And he had a problem with eating beef. He loved eating beef, but he found that his body reacted in a negative way when he ate beef. And again, everybody is different. So he cut beef out of his diet completely. Uh, and I said, that's great. You've got to listen to your body. You are the best steward of your own body. So you've got to listen to what your body is telling you. And another thing, when you go to a doctor and they don't tell you an answer that sits right with you, get a second opinion. That one doctor is not, the all powerful. He's a human being. And so they're going by what they've learned in school and what they've learned in their practice. But you know your body better than anyone else. And so go by your gut. And so at this time, I'm going to bring on Geoeges Cordoba. And Georges, please chime in on the subject of, are you willing to change in order to save your life? And chime in on what I just said. Go ahead, Georges. Thank you.
Yeah, let me start by saying that I agree with you. Very few people really take action. I think is part of what Ligia said in terms of humbling themselves and let the ego go. We're so used to being in a comfort zone, and then we are pretty much shocked of getting the diagnosis. Everybody here understands what I'm talking about. And so yeah, very few people take action. And if you reverse the percentage, 98%, in my opinion, of patients give all the power to the doctor. And that is a huge mistake, because the power is yours. You just said, if the doctor says something and you don't really, it doesn't settle in you, just go get another opinion. But in a way, you and Ligia talked about the part that is inside, your intuition. And that is your best coach. And talk about change. I fought my melanoma for 10 years, and I had 10 surgeries on me, including 4 in my brain. Actually, it's 12 procedures, because I had 2 gamma knives. And at the end of the day, 2 of the tumors in my back, and there were 8 tumors, and in my back lobe were not operable. And they just said, well, we're gonna, basically check them. George, the gamma knife did not work, and the area is not operable. The only 2 tumors in those 10 years that were not operable. But on year 8, I took a leap of faith and talk about change. I really, I did a lot of meditation, obviously, and I have doctors and surgeons in my family. My wife was a Baptist hospital in Miami, Florida, and when they heard, and the reason I changed is because when they gave me the first, according to the doctors, the first chemotherapy that would penetrate the brain, which was in capsules, and by the way, $1,000 each capsule, I had to take those Monday through Friday, then take a break on the weekend, and then Monday through Friday again. On my second Monday, I really thought I was going to get a heart attack. My heart was going all over the place. My energy was like if I taking some drug, and I was flying all over the roofs, and I just felt like I was fainting. And for those that were here before, I even tried to play the piano, because it's what I do a lot, and it didn't work. And I think it was working. I was alone at the house. My wife was actually trying to take care of 6 people, our 5 children and myself. At that point, I had decided to transition my technology position to somebody else, because I was not doing very well at work, and we have some major projects. So the whole tsunami of financial and emotional stuff. But at the end of the day, this intuition and going and staying in silence We live in a society that is all noise. How many of us, and I don't want to say of you, but how many of us take time for ourselves daily? Like you were saying, Ligia, take time for yourself. It's your time. Nobody's putting a gun on your head to do something else. Start with you. Start nourishing yourself. Start even journaling a little bit of how you're feeling today, how you're not feeling today. Be thankful for your wife, your friends, your kids, your grandkids. Being thankful. Help others. You know, what Mark is doing, and this is something that I wrote on my book, which became a best-selling book, My Holistic Journey, but it was on year 8, right after my 9th surgery at that time, that I just said, enough. This is not working for me. I'm going to take the natural route. Obviously, I had a mental training for being an athlete. I'm a tennis player, and I used a lot of visualization, a lot of other modalities, not just chemo. If we take a passive role in our cancer journey, it's going to be tough, very tough. And I have to say, for many people that are not in that percentage that Mark was saying, they don't make it because they adopted the thing, I'm a patient and it's what the doctor says. That's not the case. And here's one person that I can say that if I did not make that choice, probably would not be speaking with you right now. However, if I didn't have those 10 surgeries with this amazing the neurosurgeon and everything else, I would not be here either. So I'm not against the medical world. I'm more for, and this is what I teach my clients, the holistic being. We're not just a body. So it's not just a diet. I'm a nutritionist. What you were saying, Mark, is absolutely right. I've already had several clients that come in almost anemic, and they say, well, I've been vegan all this time. I was with this coach and stuff. It doesn't work that way. It depends on your metabolism, on your blood type, and many other things that really dictate if it's going to be good or bad. So as a nutritionist, by the way, I don't believe in extremes, keto, paleo, or, a vegan. It's just learning how to have a balanced plate, and I will share some things with you that, I wish I had 3 hours, but that are very key here. So I'm going to tell you my metaphor in 5 minutes. A holistic being has a physical self, an emotional self, a mental self, and a spiritual self. The 4 legs of the table. I tell my clients, if one of those legs is missing, you cannot eat on that table. It's not going to sustain. So it's not only the physical body and what we eat and so forth. That's very important. But guess what? And take note of this. Only 25% of our digestion and nutrition comes from what we eat. When we're talking about digestion, 25% is what we eat, and 75% is who we are when we're eating. Are we eating in a hurry? Are we chewing enough so the saliva enzymes start the digestion, which starts in your mouth? Or you're just throwing a bomb to your stomach, and the stomach is not designed. This beautiful, this is my specialty was digestion. It's a beautiful process. These organs, man, if we don't believe in something that created this, it's crazy. We have an amazing manufacturing machine. And each of those components in digestion, small intestine, pancreas, your liver, your stomach, has a role. So the first role of the stomach is to receive processed foods so that it can do its work. But if we chew, here in the US, the average American chews 6 times before they swallow. So every single, imagine three meals a day doing that. And so the stomach does not know what to do. It's not designed to process the food. So what it ends up doing is just send it to fat. And with time, not only do you gain weight, but you start building acidity in yourself, which is really the reason why all chronic disease starts in an acidic body. So by just making sure that you eat in a balanced pH, meal, you are already eliminating the environment where the cancer cells thrive to live, which is an acidic body. So it's all like a manufacturing cycle that we need to learn, and there's much more on that. But I'd like to let you know that without exception, I was actually married in Toronto in September, and I met at a conference. I was invited to speak, and I met a holistic MD, and we were discussing a panel after the whole conference, and he also said not only that all chronic disease starts in an acidic body, an inflamed body, tissues and stuff, but also all disease, and here's part of the holistic self, are emotional. And I learned all this stuff on myself. I didn't have a coach, but on year 8, I decided to go the natural route. And it's almost like the universe, like Paolo Coelho, Paolo Coelho says, when you make these decisions humbly, the universe, I call it God, conspires to help you. But we have to take action. Faith without action doesn't work. And so, in a nutshell, if you work, for you guys that are, and be humble, like Ligia said, and honest to yourself, and say, do I have emotional clutter in me? Do I have experiences from the past that might be still out there and I don't need them and producing cortisol, acidity? Do I take enough time for myself to breathe and being in a quiet position? Do I have the courage in breaking the habit of, maybe I can wake up 15 minutes earlier and do some nourishment time for me? You see, so we are the ones that are responsible for our disease. And guess what, my friends? The doctors, the oncologists are doing the best they can with what they learn, but they are not your healers. I cannot cure you. I just signed a person from India, and just listening to her, she has my daughter's age. She's 30 years old, and no kids yet. They were planning to have kids, and man, I don't know. Some of these doctors think I don't know what they think they are. And then I have clients here, I'm not gonna say the state or anything, that they're already looking clear in their scans, and the doctor says, hey, I recommend you keep going in case he comes back. The word remission, I hate that word. They're telling you psychologically, it could come back again. And no, doctor, I'm no statistic, I'm me. And I was lucky because he realized of my attitude. His nurse practitioner, Christina, also said the same thing. This is in a Sylvester Cancer Center in Miami. Man, your attitude is amazing. Guess what I used to do? I did not sit with my fellow cancer patients waiting for our turn to go see the oncologist. I used to, this is early 2000s, but I had a beeper, and I would tell Christina, hey, when it's my turn, beat me. I'll be in the garden down there in the hospital's garden. And so she would call me, because the energy of fear in many cases is just not good for you. You have to protect yourself. Protect yourself at all times. And I think it was Ligia, I don't remember right now, but it is, the mind, by the way. There's 12, I'm a hypnotherapist as well. The mind, there's 13 rules of the mind. One of the ones that really gets us all in the West, Europe and here, is that the mind goes to what is familiar. And what is familiar for us when we get cancer, for anybody, you just look for an oncologist. There's no other possibility in our mind but go there. And that is also not correct, but it's a reality. I did it. I spent almost 8 years, chemotherapy, surgery, treatment, remission, reoccurrence, surgery, treatment, remission. And I say, I can't live like this. I have, and my kids actually growing up, seeing daddy, maybe going like grandma. And so, all of us have mountains to move. And that's one of my key notes. but we can move them. If you have faith, and faith really, by the way, is a certainty of what you want. I'm certain that I'm going to be healed because if I take action, faith without action doesn't work. There's something bigger than me that will actually work, conspire to get you back to health. You know, I have to say this, there's another 12 rules of the mind, and I guarantee you, because if I know, I have the authority to say because it worked for me, but we are all the same soul-wise, and our subconscious minds are the same. Healing happens from the inside out. And I don't tell my clients, hey, do what I did. No, because I respect that rule of the mind. So what I tell them is, you'll see the difference. And when we work together with all these alternatives, and I teach them how to mentally use the chemo, see themselves, that stuff that they're putting in our bodies, destroying the bad cells. And what we're working on are going to protect the good cells. You know, so it happens. Look at Mark. And then one thing that is really key, and we don't have time for it. If you go to a hospice and you talk to the people there, some people are there for a couple of years, they don't go. And they say, man, if I had some time, additional time to do the things that I wanted to do. And one that we are all designed to do is helping others. Service to others is healing. I was sick. Look, you know, we're open here and transparent. Mark is still fighting his thing, and look what he's created. That is service. And that's why he continues to improve, because service is healing. Forgiveness is healing. That's part of the emotional clutter. In my case, my friends, I really look for those that, as a hypnotherapist, I had some breakthroughs, and I say, you know what? This is now, but I did some other stuff with tennis visualizations. I say, and I read a book, Emotional Intelligence, and somebody in there, they mentioned the power of forgiveness. So I really said, man, this makes sense. So I look for people that hurt me when I was a youngster. You know, because you carry this stuff, this venom in you. Guess what? No one remembered that they hurt me. One had passed away. I had to do surrogate work for him. But no one remembered. That taught me a lesson. I was actually swallowing that, keeping that venom on me. But they still say, well, I am sorry if, you know, I am sorry. But then I did another thing. I went and asked for forgiveness to those who I hurt. As a youngster, we make a lot of mistakes. And that also left a piano weight from my shoulder. And the hardest one, on the 4 legs of the table, in the emotional clutter, was forgiving myself. That's the hardest one. So, you know, in my protocol, we work the 4 legs of the table while they're doing chemo, because only 3 people in almost 8 years that I've been transitioned from being a CTO, only 3 people did what I did from the get-go. We met, on the 3rd week, on the 3rd session, hey, George, I talked to my oncologist, I'm gonna go natural. 2 of them made it. The other one was too compromised already. But guess what? The year and a half that she stopped the chemo and everything else was her best time. Because we all know here, some people were different, but for me, I mean, chemo was 8 years of being in fetal position after 2 hours of receiving the chemo, then the radiotherapy in my brain. I accepted everything because I didn't know better. But it was when I made that decision, that change, make the decision to change, it was extreme, but it worked. And so if you see the credits in the back of my book, one of the doctors that really tried to talk me out of it says, man, George has proved us all wrong. And that's the case, because it's you. And the healing, whether you're doing chemo or not, is from the inside out, my friends. That's all I can say. And, you know, I'm so glad to be part of this community. You know, sometimes I have to do like online summits, this week, well, the 16th, Mark, Sunday, I'm going to Las Vegas for the Heart Center Summit. And it's really cool because it's like-minded with us. There's a lot of, some of the speakers are survivors. It's very much, actually, the event planner, who is an amazing international speaker. He did missionary work. He was a pastor before. And, his call was, hey, I'm going to use my speaking talent to reach out and give people hope. So anyway, guys, we all can move our mountains.
Thank you, George. That's fantastic. And so what I want to do is want to go around and see if anybody has any questions or wants to chime in. I want to mention at this time, next week, as of right now, and this is February 6th, I have scheduled a phenomenal lady, a longtime survivor. Her name is Rebecca Esparza. And she was originally supposed to be today, but now I've heard this morning that she's had retinal surgery, so I have to see if she's going to still be able to speak. But we will let you know. And if anybody is not part of our Cancer Conquering Community Facebook group, we're posting regularly on there, and we welcome any interaction on the Facebook page. We also have our, which we're on right now, our very own Cancer Conquering Community YouTube channel. And so, please feel free to, engage with that, and any input, and anybody who would like to help us in our endeavors to spread the message that we're spreading today, we would really greatly appreciate that. And so let's go around and see if anybody has any questions. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna turn off the recording, and then we'll take questions, and then shortly thereafter we're gonna close it out. So I'm gonna stop the recording. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here at the Cancer Conquering Community, and we will see you shortly with another video and another speaker. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.